Now, this is an interesting subject because one of the things that Jesus was known for was teaching lessons in the story form we call parables. And I believe one of the reasons why he taught in parables is because we love stories, first of all. We love stories. TV shows, movies, all these other things are just stories. And it's easier to remember a story sometimes than it is to remember point A, point B, point C, point D. But if you get the crux of a story, you can carry it with you. And as a part of ancient oral traditions, you can pass those stories on to others. All of us have stories in our families that have never been written down, but have been passed down generation to the next generation to the next generation. Humanity isn't that much different. They were doing it then, they do it now. And one of the ways in which you learn a lesson often is in the story form, all right? We learned many stories in different ways with, don't play around with certain things and make sure you're prepared for whatever might come. We learned that through the Three Little Pigs, right? Right? We learned different stories depending on the Dr. Seuss stories and things of that nature as we grew up. We learned that way because it was the easiest way for it to stick, all right? I remember, I don't know, do they still do it? Because I haven't been in grammar school in quite some time, but I learned how to say my ABCs in the form of a song. You remember the ABC, then at the end you're like, now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? You learn it in a way that allows you to remember it. So if you're Jesus and you're traveling and you want to teach people something that will stick, you give it to them in a form they will understand. Does that make sense? All right. So one of the ways in which Jesus taught the love of God was through a parable that we call the prodigal son. And I'm gonna give you a different little angle at that, but let's go through it first for the sake of time, because this is a lot of slides. I wanna make sure I use all these slides I asked them to create for me. So this is Luke chapter 15, verse 11 through 32. All right, let's start. Let me pull up my Bible here and get to it. Okay. Then Jesus said, there was a man who had two sons. The younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the share of the property that will belong to me. So he divided his property between them. A few days later, the younger son gathered all that he had and traveled to a distant country, and there he squandered his property in dissolute living. When he had spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed the pigs. He would gladly have filled himself with the pods that the pigs were eating, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, how many of my father's hired hands have bread enough and to spare? But here I am, dying of hunger. I will get up and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your hired hands. Hopefully I'm reading from a slightly different translation, so I hope it matches up. But while he was still far off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. He ran and put his arms around him and kissed him. Then the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his slaves, quickly bring out a robe, the best one, and put it on him, and put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet, and get the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and it is found. And they began to celebrate. Now his eldest son was in the field, and when he came and approached the house, he heard the music and dancing. He called out one of the slaves and asked what was going on. He replied, your brother has come, and your father has killed the fatted calf, because he has got him back safe and sound. Then he became angry and refused to go in. His father came out and began to plead with him. But he answered his father, listen, for all these years I've been working like a slave for you, and I have never disobeyed your command. Yet you have never given me even a young goat so that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came back, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fatted calf for him. Then the father said to him, son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. But we had to celebrate and rejoice because this brother of yours was dead and has come to life. He was lost and has been found. Now, that was a lot of reading, but that story has a lot of symbolism, and I'm not going to be able to deal with all of it today in the time we have, but let me get to my first point. The story is about a father with two sons, not only about the prodigal son. So it's easy to be able to say this story is about the wayward son, but it's not. The story is actually about a man who had two sons, all right? An older son that was somewhat self-righteous and underappreciated in his mind, and a wayward son that just kind of drifted on his way. And when we think about human interaction, you know, when we have relatives, sometimes siblings, where you think, well, one sibling gets away with, I was gonna say everything, but okay. So you know what I'm talking about. How come this person can get away with all of this and yet you still love them? They still can, you know, not necessarily get the quote unquote punishment they deserve or consequences and all this other stuff that we make up in our own minds. The story is about a father with two sons. Next point. The Bible is full of stories about conflict between the older and younger brother. The younger brother is normally favored in these stories, which was outside of how ancient Semitic culture worked. In those cultures back then, the older son was everything. The older son represented the father. The older son did business in the name of the father, et cetera, et cetera. That's why scripture uses so much language like that for Jesus, because that was their culture. But when you read the biblical stories, one of the things you'll notice is often the younger brother against culture was for whatever reason favored. Let me give you a few examples. Cain and Abel, which one was favored? Abel, right? We had Isaac and Ishmael. Ishmael was the older brother. Isaac was favored. Esau and Jacob. Esau was the older brother. Jacob got the blessing, right? He tricked himself into the blessing, but he got it. You had Joseph, and he had older brothers, but who was the favorite son? Joseph. And after him, the other younger brother, which was Jacob. You even get when it was time to pick the second king in the history of Israel, when the prophet Samuel went to go look for people, he went to the house of Jesse and he went through all of the sons and he didn't pick any of them until he got to the youngest son, David. We see it over and over again. Now, next point. God's love meets us where we are and doesn't show favoritism. The father in the parable loves the prodigal son and the son who feels underappreciated. Why? Because God's love is inclusive. Now, this is one of the things that's interesting to me about the story. In those older stories, it was always some reason why somebody received favoritism. The beauty of this story was this: the father refused to lose either son. Now, I don't want you to miss that. He refused to lose either one. Why is that important? Because when we judge things from a human standpoint, we have all of our perceptions, criticisms, and judgments. We don't look at it from the standpoint of God's love is all inclusive. Let me give you an example. This is found in the book of Matthew. Saved it right here. Matthew, chapter 5, verse 45. I'll read 43 for context. You've heard it said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, this is Jesus speaking, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be children of your Father in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the righteous and on the unrighteous. Can we allow ourselves to be in a space to where we can accept that God's love is all inclusive, meaning it includes everybody, even people we don't like, even people who present differently than us, people who have different race, different genders, different orientations, different nationalities, different. God's love is big enough for all of the variety of ways in which we show up, because God is love. One of the challenges that people have with a theology like what is taught in the New Thought movement is they can't accept a God that is loving and accepting. They want the smackdown God. They want the judgmental God. They want the God that criticizes you. They want the God that chooses one side or another. Why? Because if I believe that you're outside of God's love, then you can be outside of mine. If I believe that you're working against God's will, then I can treat you like you're outside of God's will. And if I believe God is condemning you, I can condemn you. When we start thinking about God's love as all inclusive, and like the father in this story, a person who refuses to lose either child, it changes our perspective. I love how the story, when the prodigal son, who was a Jewish boy, is feeding pigs, that's telling you in the story, he is dropped as far as you can go. He's feeding pigs. He wants to eat the food that the pigs are fed. He is gone as low as a Jewish boy can go, because we all understand kosher laws. We're in a synagogue right now. We understand kosher law. Now, he makes up in his mind, this is how we do it. Well, I know I'm wrong, so I'm gonna beat myself up before I allow somebody else to beat myself up. So I'm gonna go back to my father's house. At least he has bread there and food to eat, and I'll just be one of the servants. But this is what's interesting about the story. It says his father saw him a way off, which means what? He was looking for his son. All right? And when he tried to do the father, I've sinned against you, I've done all of this, his father embraced him, told the people, give him the best robe, bring out the ring, bring out the best shoes, kill the fatted calf. Why? Because you have now walked back into who you really are. Interestingly, the older brother hears all this partying, and he's out there working, right? Anybody know what it means to be the responsible sibling? And he's like, there's a party going on? What's the party for? Oh, your younger brother He's back. I mean, the one who took his part of the family inheritance and went and wasted it, he's back. And what does he do? He tries to chastise his father for showing that level of love to his younger brother. And this is what's interesting to me about the story. When the older brother said, "This son of yours," can you feel the accusatory tone of that? This son of yours. He wasted the resources. He wasted in riotous living. He's wasted it. And the father said, "This brother of yours." See the difference? When you're in your anger, when you're in your space, when you're in your tribalism, my side against their side, when you're in your quote unquote, I gotta be right, you don't want to associate it with you. So it's your son or your people or your thing. This brother of yours. See how he brought it back to the love? This brother of yours was lost. This brother of yours was dead. Not literally, but dead in a level of consciousness where he didn't realize who and what he was in God. That's why we're celebrating. And then the father dropped the hammer. You could have had the fatted calf anytime you wanted it. Why? Because all of mine is yours. Sometimes we're so busy looking at what somebody else is demonstrating, we're not paying attention to what we should be doing and what we have available to us. I don't have to wait for permission to use that which is mine by right of consciousness. I don't have to wait to use what is mine by right of spiritual birthright. As a child of God, we have the inheritance of God's divine love, God's divine life, God's divine wisdom, God's divine power, God's divine substance. It's already ours. We don't have to seek permission to use what God has already placed within us. Does that make sense? You're waiting on somebody to give you permission to do something? The permission has already been given. Why? Because just like those letters you get in the mail from the credit card companies, you have been pre-approved. Next point. Metaphysically, both brothers represent states of mind. Both sons symbolize different types of erroneous thinking that must change if a person wants to experience their prosperous birthright. Now, let's deal with it, and then we're going to close on out. The younger brother represents that wasteful thinking. You know, wasteful, impulsive, not paying attention to the long term, the big picture. I just want what I want. I'm in my space right now, and I don't care about the consequences. I just want what I want, and I'm going to live the way I want to live. Different perspective, right? That wasteful type of thinking. The older brother is the type that mentality that works to the bone without ever living in the space of utilizing, appreciating, and experiencing that which they have earned by right of consciousness. So there are sometimes people who are exceptionally wasteful. And then there are people who never appreciate what they have created in their lives. In other words, they don't enjoy the good they have produced. And then they have excuses about why they have to work so hard and how come this has to be done and all of the sacrifices. And both are erroneous because they lose the moment of now. And the moment of now is always asking you a basic question. How am I supposed to show up as an expression of God in this moment? How am I supposed to show up as the peace of God, the love of God, the joy of God, the prosperity of God, or what the love of God, whatever that might be, versus being impulsive and wayward, or stuck in my emotions and my appetites and my habits and my fetishes and all this other stuff that are driven from the body driving your behavior. You know, and I can give you an example if you want. Like, I had to give up White Castles years ago. I love White Castles with an everlasting love. However, it doesn't sit well with my body anymore. So when I drive past a White Castle, that smell is like, please come. It's like the sirens asking me to come into the rocks. If I was listening to my appetite, I would risk it. When I listen to my wisdom, I don't. And I haven't for a while, you know. So the point of it is this. You can easily get pulled into experiences because you want to separate yourself from the source of your good. The prodigal son saying, I'm going to leave in my father's house and go do it on my own, is often us trying to figure out how to make life work without a conscious awareness of the presence of God in us. Are you trying to make life work without spiritual understanding? Are you trying to make life work just based upon sometimes temporary, limited perspectives? Are you taking time to stop, pray, reflect, contemplate, and seek the wisdom and understanding of God so you can make right decisions? Sometimes we're the older brother. We don't enjoy, we don't appreciate, we don't connect to what we already have. Sometimes we're the younger brother. We're wasteful and impulsive and driven by appetite. Both states of consciousness do not reflect what really is going on, which is, as long as I allow myself to stay in a consciousness of God's love, I will always have what I need. So to close, I want you to, as you leave, evaluate today. Which, or if both, states of mind have I been expressing? And then I'm going to challenge you to bring yourself back to God's love as it expresses through you by reminding yourself, I deserve the best experiences. I deserve love. I deserve peace. I deserve divine health. I deserve joy. I deserve good relationships. I deserve happy experiences. I deserve it. Why? Because I'm a child of God. That's it. And don't make up any other reason or excuse. I deserve the best because I'm a child of God. And all that the Father has is mine. And I can have all that I'm supposed to have without taking from anyone else, because we are one. Because when I see my brother and when I see that sister, I'm reflecting in consciousness that I recognize that we're all one in God. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Reverend McDowell. And now let's welcome back Bruce Henry and the Peter Polzak Quartet.
on. It's all right. Makes no difference what you're going through. You're gonna make it. God's gonna see you through. Hold your head up, put a smile on your face. Let me encourage you that trouble won't last always. So get ready for your blessing. Get ready for your miracle. Get ready for your blessing. Get ready for your miracle. I know you've been hurting deep down inside. Let me encourage you, it's gonna be all right. Problems and trials come to make you strong. Just keep on believing, just keep on holding on. So get ready for your blessing. Get ready for your miracle. Get ready for your blessing. Get ready for your miracle. Now, I know the first time through that song, I could see some of you all were waiting for another invitation. But that's why I'm here. And I know you need your help. If you just clap your hands and it invites you to experience the joy that singing together and clapping your hands together and dancing together can give. And we're gonna do it just one more time, yeah. Singing about the blessings that are raining down. God's got a blessing. There we go. God's got a blessing. God's got a blessing. God's got a blessing. Come on, man. God's got a blessing. God's got a blessing. God's got a blessing. With your name on it. With your name on it. With your name on it. With my name on it. With my name on it. Say, man. God's got a blessing. Break it down, man. God's got a blessing. God's got a blessing. God's got a blessing. Double time, y'all say. God's got a blessing. God's got a blessing. God's got a blessing. With my name on it. I said God's got a blessing. God's got a blessing. God's got a blessing. Hey, hey, come on now. With my name on it. With my name on it. With your name on it. With our name on it. With her name on it. With your name on it. With our name on it. Yeah. God's got a blessing, y'all. Yeah.
All right. It is now time for the collection of the tithes and offerings. Would all here and online join me in saying our gratitude affirmation? Divine love, richly flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am grateful for the blessings of this day. I am grateful for the blessings on the way.